back, everyone. You know what? I love my show, and I do say it every show, and I do. And the reason why is because all the great information that people get when they hear from here. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's someone that you know. Tell them about it. That is what networking is all about. We are live on Facebook, so hi to everybody out there. Like us and follow us. So I'm going to go with my next guest. And one of the things that I love is that the people that come on my show, I think, have a really good time. Treg, you have been on my show a long time now, many, many times. I have with me... I said Treger. I meant
Treger's fine.
You know what? I like that too. It fits you really well. I just changed his name right there on the show. So it is Jason Treguboff. And Jason, you are the owner of Treguboff Law. And I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself. But here's the thing, folks. People that come on my show, it's fun for you. Even though we're talking about bankruptcy, right? You can actually make that a lot easier for people when they're thinking like they're sweating about should I do it? Should I do it? I don't feel bad about it. Let's talk a little bit about yourself and what makes you different.
Well, thank you, Carol. It's always good to be back here. Like you said, it's always a fun time.
Thank you.
So my name's Jason Treguboff. I am a solo practitioner, practice out in the West Valley, but I have clients all over the state, so we can service the entire state. I've been doing this about 15 years, and just, mostly bankruptcy and probate. And it's funny that you said Treger. Back in my old life, we had a dairy farm, and the name of our farm was Treger Holstein. So you got it right.
I knew there was a reason why. But you know what? Also, too, I was just listening to your ad, and we just had it on before you came on, and it said Treger, and that's what was in my mind, because I want to be able to also repeat it and also spell it for people as well when we say the website. Today, you wanted to talk a little bit about family members and things to avoid. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about other things as well. But before you go bankrupt, family members. So let's see, first of all, let's talk about repayment to people who are family or friends.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about some things that, can get people into trouble, some things you want to avoid before filing bankruptcy. And one of the common things we see, especially this time of year, because where are we at? Tax refunds. People are getting tax refunds, and they may have borrowed money from, mom or dad or somebody or a friend, and they want to repay them. And where people get into trouble is when they repay a family member or a friend prior to filing a bankruptcy. That's what we call a preference payment. And preference payments get clawed back. There's a look-back period.
Wow. So they can actually look back and see what you've done?
Oh, absolutely. So, for creditors like Visa or MasterCard, it's a 90-day look-back period. And you know what? We don't really care about those very much, because if a bankruptcy trustee is going to get those preferences, they're just going to claw it back from the creditor. But when it's a family member, the look-back period is 12 months. And
wow.
Yeah. And then you can bring family members into a bankruptcy, and those preferences have to be disclosed. And so if that happens in a bankruptcy, oftentimes the filer, instead of bringing the family member into the bankruptcy, they're going to repay the bankruptcy estate instead of the bankruptcy trustee going after the family member.
Mm-hmm. So they can do that too?
Yeah.
Oh, big pockets.
Yeah. Yeah. So to make the case go smoother, we want to avoid those transfers. And sometimes if those pop up, when we do our initial intakes, we'll delay a filing, until 12 months have gone by, so we don't have to disclose those transfers.
So see, the reason why I also love my show too is because when we're sitting here talking about this, there are so many people out there that they want to do it either very affordably or they want to do it themselves, because now everybody can go to Dr. Google, mm-hmm. And go up there and see lots of different things. But if they don't know, it's like I say this all the time, what you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly. And the trustees will find out. That's their job.
Wow.
They're very good at it. And so it's one of those things, we always say bankruptcy's about timing. And if we have to delay a case, we'll delay a case. But it's much better to know all that stuff up front rather than get into it and then be blindsided. And you do see that a lot with people that file on their own. They don't know that. And they don't think that they've done anything wrong. And really they haven't. It's just that's how the bankruptcy code is set up. And preferences get clawed back because we can't, pay creditors in preference to other creditors.
I'm just curious. Let's say they find this out, right? Now they know that you had money to pay back someone. Now what happens to everything else they did if they find that out? They've already filed.
Well, then it can become a huge problem, because if it wasn't disclosed,
There you go.
yeah, then you can, then they start looking for other things, and it could get as serious as resulting in the loss of your discharge.
Wow. Oh my God. That would be terrible for someone.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible, and bankruptcy, you want to disclose everything. So if you ever have a question, well, do I need to tell my attorney about that? The answer is yes.
Absolutely.
Always.
Now, when you work with people, you do a free consultation.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So when they sit down and talk to you, what does that look like? I mean, when you say full disclosure, what do they need? I mean, what do they bring to you and to bring to the plate for that?
Well, obviously, I'm going to ask a lot of questions about their financial situation, like what we've talked about. Preferences. Have you repaid any loans to family members or friends over the last 12 months? And in addition to that, have you transferred property? We'll see people transfer a car to a child or something, or a parent, to try and hide it from creditors.
And that transfer, when they do that, will be on file that it was done on such and such a date. The creditors can go back and look back 12 months, you said.
For a transfer like that,
It's different?
that's called a fraudulent conveyance.
Ooh, it's even worse, it sounds.
Yes.
I'm
because
getting nervous. I'm sweating just as we're sitting here. Go ahead.
then that's when you're transferring an asset for, no consideration, for essentially less than fair market value, and you're doing it with the intent to hinder, delay, or defraud your creditors.
Wow.
That is very, very serious, and that comes up, we've seen people, they'll hide land, they'll transfer land that way and try and hide things, vehicles. Those things get very, very serious, and when those come up, if they're not disclosed and a trustee finds out, which they will, they'll bring in the U.S. trustee. It gets very serious, and there's very serious penalties for committing fraud in bankruptcy. Criminal penalties, fines up to $250,000, jail, prison time. So you definitely have to disclose it. You have to do a very, very thorough job.
I think it used to be very different. People used to go bankrupt, and a lot of people would go spend money, on their credit cards, and maybe they try and do that still. But they don't realize that now they're on the up and up now. There is no playing around with that.
Well, I think it's more because of our day and age. So much of the information is out there. It's a lot easier to find things out. You'd be surprised what people disclose on their Facebook page. I mean, it's as simple as things like that. So,
and they actually look there too?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
boy. You see, they know what they're doing. Now, when they call you, this is going to be a free consultation. Again, maybe it's you. Maybe you know somebody. Maybe you know someone who was just telling you that they did something like this, and you're like, you know what? That's not a good idea. You ought to tell them about this. That phone number is 623-680-6504. He does free consultations, and you do like an analysis for them. How does that work?
So, initially, it's just going to be, a series of questions like we had talked about, and then we'll get a good ballpark of the debts you have, the amount, the type of debt. Do you own your home? Are you behind on the mortgage? Are you current with the HOA? Are you behind on that? Your vehicle, what's it look like with your vehicle? Are you behind on it? Are you facing a repossession? Do you want to keep your vehicle? How many vehicles do you have? So it's a pretty detailed consultation. Oftentimes they go over an hour because we need as clear a picture as we can possibly get before we can say, yes, this is a good idea for you, or no, it's not.
And that's what it's all about, finding out whether it is. And it's your right to do that. We're going to talk about that when we get back too. Because you know what? Everybody bad things happen to good people.
Absolutely.
Right? And you can, but you need to disclose. That's what you need to make sure you do. His website is TregurLaw.com. His phone number is 623-680-6504. Hang tight. We're going to be back in just a minute.
When does it get easier? I hear that all the time from business owners and leaders that just aren't getting the same results from their hard work they used to. I'm Ken Kilday, and I work with business owners and leaders to unlock their leadership genius. Start today with a breakthrough strategy session and start making the cut. Call or text 602-820-6978 or online at makingthecut.biz. That's 602-820-6978 or online at makingthecut.biz.
Hi, I'm Randy Courtney, broker owner of Weichert Realtors, Courtney Valley. We've served in the Valley for over 37 years. We handle all your residential needs. If you're thinking about making a move, call me for an expert broker price opinion. Find out what to do to your home to maximize its value. You'll be surprised at what you'll learn and well worth the time with me. I will tell you what most agents will not. Call me today at 480-705-9600. At Courtney Valley White Properties, we handle your real estate needs, big or small. We handle them all.
Do you have a parent, grandparent, or loved one who needs some extra help? Senior Helpers has spent 16 years helping seniors continue to live at home as they age. Do you have a loved one needing help with grocery shopping, meal preparation, or even help taking a shower? Call Senior Helpers today at 480-621-6672. We specialize in helping seniors with Alzheimer's and dementia, Parkinson's disease, and other chronic illnesses to stay at home. You can find us online at seniorhelpers.com or at 480-621-6672.
KFNX Cave Creek.
Moving sure sucks, so why not leave it to the pros? Smooth Transitions of the Valley aren't just any moving company. They are caring and compassionate. If you're a senior, have special needs, and need assistance, or if you're downsizing or just need a clean out, Smooth Transitions of the Valley has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Call 602-794-5455. That number again is 602-794-5455. Visit them online at movingsuresucks.com.
What if I told you that getting Medicare coverage doesn't have to be a complicated process? Are you tired of being confused with the many coverage options available to you with Medicare? At Tapestry Insurance Group, let us help by taking the confusion and complication out of your Medicare options so you can get the coverage you need. Some available plans have no additional premium and may help lower your out-of-pocket costs. There's never a cost for a consultation with one of our licensed agents, so don't delay. Contact us at 602-541-7656 or visit tapestryinsurancegroup.com.
If we could get you a price that would really make you happy, would you be willing to sell your company? Are you looking for an exit strategy to turn your world-class investment into cash? If you're ready to take on a new career or even just retire and need expert advice, WCI Brokers has the knowledge to get you your maximum value. With over 5,000 successful sales, 30,000 registered buyers, and 300 years of experience, we will handle every detail. Call 602-795-2005 and pay no fees until we turn your business into cash.
If I traded it all.
So welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Jason Treguboff, and he is the owner of Treguboff Law, and we're talking about bankruptcy. And it is your right to do this. This is, people have to understand. A lot of people think, oh my God, I did it myself. I should pay it back and sweat it out.
Well, life happens. We don't have debtor prisons in this country. We want people to take risks, and we want you to be able to save for retirement. We don't want you to be destitute for the rest of your life.
Right, and things do happen, but when you do it, you want to make sure it's done correctly. We were just talking a little bit about some of the different things that people might need to be aware of before they even, file. And one thing that I can say when you talk to Jason about this, you are now giving yourself peace of mind knowing that it is done correctly. That is huge when it comes to this. And I know years ago it was different, but it's not anymore. Things are different. We live in a different world today. Some of the things that we did want to talk about too was things like chapters, the different ones. There's chapter 7, chapter 13. What's the difference?
So chapter 7 is what most people think of as bankruptcy. That's the liquidating bankruptcy. So in a chapter 7, you're going for a discharge. That's the court order that tells the creditors they're forever barred from collecting on the debts. And in exchange for that discharge, you turn over what we call non-exempt assets. So that, of course, begs the question, right? What do I mean by non-exempt assets? So in Arizona, we have certain statutory provisions, every state does, that we refer to as property exemptions. And they protect certain types of property up to a specific dollar amount. Sometimes it's a percentage. It just depends on the exemption. So for example, your wages, those are exempt 90% now. So 10% are non-exempt. That's what a wage garnishment attaches to. Your home, you have an exemption of $400,000. That's equity. Okay, so you can protect a lot of home equity in a bankruptcy. Your retirement accounts, those are an exempt asset. You have an exemption for a motor vehicle of $15,000 at least. So most people, when they're in a Chapter 7, there's very little, if anything, they have to give up. They're what we call a no-asset case. Where you see the problems are when people don't disclose things. That's what takes a simple no-asset case into somebody losing their discharge because they didn't disclose something. They may be doing it on their own and they don't realize it, or they're embarrassed to tell their attorney and they don't tell their attorney about it.
Right. No, you have to disclose everything. One of the wonderful things about doing this, once you put this, it's behind you, number one, but once you call you, which is a free consultation, and they work with you, they decide to sign up with you, stops all calls.
Once the case is filed, you're protected by the automatic stay of the bankruptcy code. That's when creditors have to stop contacting you. Otherwise, it's a violation of the automatic stay, and they're subject to penalties and sanctions for that. Prior to filing, once you sign up with us, you can refer any creditors to our office, and oftentimes they'll call us, they'll verify, did they retain? Yes. When do you expect to file? And they'll usually leave you alone for 30 to 60 days while we're getting the case ready.
Which is not the case when they're after you.
Correct.
They're they're calling you nonstop. Also, they're brutal, some of them, right? And today, you could get yourself in trouble just with some of the words that you say.
Well, understand that there are laws and regulations that collection agencies have to follow, and a lot of the threats that they make to people are bogus. They're not true. So, before you start wiring money to a collection agency or paying somebody money, talk to an attorney first. You may just be getting scammed.
Now, your phone number to call is 623-680-6504. He does free consultations, and you work statewide. His website is Treger, Treger law.com. You could check him out there. Put the number, write it down. Right, whether it's for you or someone that you know. We also know a lot of people who have been, in the last couple of years, I should say, have gotten themselves a little bit of trouble. Right, it happens all the time, and maybe tell them about it and say, hey, you know what? I heard this guy on there. He might be able to give you some good advice, and that's what it's all about first, right?
Absolutely. And anybody that's been to the grocery store lately, they can tell you that inflation is really taking a bite out of everybody now.
Everywhere. I don't care where you go.
And it's making it hard to make those minimum payments and understand, when you're making the minimum payments on the credit cards and things like that, it's going to take you 20 years probably to pay them off. And so you at least want to have a fresh set of eyes on your financial situation and to make a determination of what makes sense for you at this point.
Right. And the only way is by asking and having a consultation. It doesn't hurt. And I wanted to also talk a little bit about, because tax season is around the corner, right? I want to talk a little bit about taxes and bankruptcy, because there's also a fine line of when you should do that too, right?
Absolutely. As far as taxes, I'll tell you, file your taxes, obviously. But, if you have tax debt, there are things you can do in a bankruptcy. Sometimes they are dischargeable. There's some rules that have to be met. They have to be of a certain age. They have to be assessed. It's basically what we call a 3-year, 2-year, 240-day rule. So the return has to be due at least 3 years before the bankruptcy is filed. You have to actually have filed it at least 2 years before the bankruptcy is filed. And the tax has to be assessed, more than 240 days before the bankruptcy is filed. So there's a lot of boxes that have to be checked there. And even if you meet all those boxes, sometimes the taxes aren't dischargeable. If you file the returns late, You might not be able to get those taxes discharged in a bankruptcy, but you might be able to enter into a Chapter 13 bankruptcy and repay those taxes, some or all of them, over a 5-year period.
When you listen to you can tell why you need to make that phone call and have a consultation. There's too many check boxes, by the way, that you got to make sure done correctly.
Well, absolutely, especially with taxes. If you're looking to discharge taxes in a bankruptcy, if you file the bankruptcy too early, you won't be able to discharge those. So it's important, to work with somebody to determine when you can actually file, because there's always cases out there where somebody filed a bankruptcy a week too early and those taxes are no longer dischargeable, just simply because the timing of the filing of the case.
Now, the phone number to call is 623-680-6504. He works statewide, and his website is Treger, TREGER Law.com. He does a free consultation. It makes sense to have that consultation with him. Don't do it yourself. Really, it's just the wrong thing to do. And when you talk to him, make sure you bring everything to the plate. Don't be, embarrassed in any way, because, people, like we said before, bad things happen to good people. I have asked this question many times on my show to people. What is the number one question that you get asked about a bankruptcy?
Can I keep my house? Can I keep my car? Or are they going to take my house?
So let's answer those. Can I keep my house?
Yes, you can keep your house, and you can keep your home equity. And aside to that is, occasionally we get somebody, they've transferred their home to an LLC, and they're like, yeah, a realtor told me that was a good idea. In the context of a bankruptcy, no. You lose your homestead exemption. So again, those are questions that we're asking, and if somebody does that, then before we file the case, we need to get the house transferred back into their name so that they have their homestead exemption. But yeah, it's, can I keep my house? Can I keep my car? And the answers to those are yes.
Yes. And so when somebody does go BK, I think the one thing that they are concerned about the most is, how long is it going to stay on with me? And am I going to be able, is there life after bankruptcy?
Absolutely. There's definitely life after bankruptcy. It may show up on your credit report for 10 years, but you should qualify for a home mortgage within 2 years of filing.
And you mentioned a little bit about that when you are, to me at Facebook, when we were talking to Facebook land out there, that when people are, a mortgage company is not looking, the bank, they're not looking at that. What were they looking at? I forgot what you said.
Once you get to that 2-year mark, it's not necessarily a bankruptcy that's going to prevent you from qualifying for a mortgage. It's, do you meet the income guidelines?
Can you make the payment? That's it.
Can you make
bottom
the payment?
line, right? And these kinds of things, like I said, they're going to be there. But I understand, from what I understand, is that you are a better risk.
Yeah, after you file a Chapter 7, in fact, you'll be inundated with offers to purchase vehicles because they know you're better credit risk. You've wiped out all the debt, and they know you can't get another Chapter 7 discharge for 8 years, and so they're willing to finance a vehicle.
How long does the process take? Somebody gives you a call, they're going to have a free consultation with you and sit down and talk to you. They've now decided to work with you. Now, about how long is it before now they can say, okay, I can breathe a little bit?
Hopefully, as soon as the consultation's over, they can at least feel like there's a weight off their shoulders because they know what their options are. Now, as far as how long the case takes, really that's up to the individual client. There's documents that we're going to need. There's an online class they're required to take under the bankruptcy code. It's a credit counseling course, so they have to take that before they file the case. So oftentimes, how fast we get to filing is
just dependent on
the client.
Here's a good question. Somebody is in debt, let's say just for their credit cards, 10 grand. Is that should they go bankrupt or not? Tough call?
That's a tough call. That one's, you're getting close.
Yeah. You know what? Or I don't know the number, because there's a lot of people, I know the young people that get themselves in debt with credit cards, and sometimes, you have to find out. You have to find out and ask them, because it might just be worth it for any number. It just depends on your situation, but you will not know until you ask. Also, don't forget, family members and friends, be very careful of who you're doing this with. You have to disclose everything. Don't do these things on your own, because if you do, you can get yourself in big time trouble, it sounds like. And the best thing to do is to give them a call and have a free consultation. It's 623-680-6504. It's Treger, Treger, law.com.
Traded it